Um, okay. So I am going to. Wow, I can't believe I've actually found. Oh my God, I'm in love with this now. Holy cow! I can't believe. I mean, I can't believe what it actually is doing. Like, wow, I understand it. It's so amazing. I totally believe, I'm witnessing the proof that it's trying to help me save myself and other people. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I can't believe it. That's going to change everything. What the heck? I guess that, I don't want to scare anybody, but people will be so much more inspired and less ashamed. That's so weird. I never thought that it would be possible. I could be a Mormon. What the heck? That is so funny. I was such a jerk. I really was. They used to make fun of me. They used to make fun of me. They used to pick on me for not being Mormon. So I did it back. We kind of, the non-Mormons were rejected. And they weren't allowed to play with, they thought we were evil. And they wouldn't allow us to play with them and stuff. And so, really, really surprises me that this is happening, that I found everything. Not everything, but wow, what a miracle to be going through this and the witness that I just witnessed. I'm starting to read this, and what he came up with is so genius. While I'm getting wow, incredible. How in the world? So I just started to read this introduction here, and it really makes sense. That it's not something that would be wise to explain as it's happening because of how do I explain it? Let's say that the person's walking through a minefield, and there's something that can detect it before you get on it or whatever. Horrible comparison, right? But that's basically why I feel like it would be the dumbest thing to do, to share what just happened. Oh my God, it's so perfect and wise, and will totally help me. It'll help everybody, really, that I it's like, wow, I'm worried about, because he doesn't want people to be taken advantage of. He doesn't want me to be taken advantage of, and doesn't want people to be inspired to take advantage of me, and then, or take advantage of other Mormons or whatever, and then feel totally horrible for it. Incredible, though. It makes perfect sense. How is it that perfect? It really, now I understand the golden plates, that's for sure. And that's pretty easy to explain because of Well, if you put the golden plates in the wrong person's hands, they might use it to take advantage of people. But it's like a miracle you're witnessing. And it's connecting with light, with other, like the speed of the mind, with other people. And, so it's beautiful and it's real. But how sad that somebody discovering that'd be, it could be the largest treasure in the world. Might just think, oh, I'm going to do this to give people the best experience for helping me or something, but without being completely honest with them. And they potentially dangerously don't want to let go because of what they witnessed. And that's why half swords are dangerous, right? Anyways, so let's should we do a question or something? I want to make sure it's wiser and safe than the last time. So I just want to ask, how much was I able to reach? How much have I been able to reach them? Is that a good question? How about, let's see. What if I asked something about the plates? I was saying, so it says here in the beginning that the gold plates were quoted and bridged with a prophet historian named Mormon. It makes so much sense now. Very, very cool. Wow. Very beautiful. In a way, it's like an arc. That word is so perfect. It's like an arc because of, I guess I'm not supposed to tell, because I'm going to want people always more pleasantly surprised. Whenever they think something's going on, they'll find out, oops, I shouldn't have doubted, I shouldn't have gone that direction because I found out what's behind it. It just made me go, oops. That's something that seems to be where the bridge is going right here. Interesting. So anyways, incredible. So, okay. So the written on golden plates, it's so cool because of the names of everything. It actually is such a miracle. Okay, so what question should I ask though? Is there guess. How was your day? So I've decided to call it the letter E. The letter E. Golden plates or whatever. Makes a lot of sense. And that'll be really fun to do for people, as long as people understand certain things, like the risks, like Joseph being alive right now and doing this to him might make him dangerously attached or in love with me. And how he's going to want to let me go, you know? So that is, I guess, the most important lesson, the most important thing to know about that. So the idea came from, people hear about mass spending time, whatever, and what if there was something we could do here that was participating in sending the best ideas to the people that already lived, because it's possible all of our thoughts and ideas are always coming from other places, and does it make us safer to be thinking there could be war and rape everywhere, or is it safer for feeling like we're totally safe? Or like, it seems like a lot of times our instinct kind of knows. And is trying to help other people that are sharing space with. Okay, so my question, I will ask what to do about the hateful spirit, or that misunderstands or assumes that somebody is saying they're not good enough. If that makes sense. Because the very first thing you may come across is one came from Jerusalem in 600 BC. So why use that word? Are they going to think maybe it's somebody that hates himself and just thinks, is he saying I'm sick? No, the zero. Or something like that. See, that's really sad right there, because it doesn't actually say that. It's very different from that. It actually, 666 used to be used to prevent fire and put out fire. When the sixes, they were kind of backwards. If you put, when they were connected at the lines, I believe, was a way of trading, and it was like a calendar. When tribes would connect, it was like a Celtic symbol. And then when they would connect at the rings, that would be a way of saying there's a fire, we need your help. And it was like we went this way. And so when sixes or whatever would appear on a beach, there would be like, we went this way, or like it would tell what was going on. It would explain what was going on. And so usually it was, a peaceful trade, and people were exchanging goods, and maybe, what's the word we put it, marrying people, or selling children. Selling children to the other tribes was, of course, part of it. But it's just like, basically the idea is a tribe comes across another tribe, and they need a way to safely make a trade so that people aren't dying, because it is one of the most dangerous things to do. Somebody might be allergic to something, and they might think that somebody intentionally cursed them or something. I mean, it is actually a dangerous thing to do. And if they don't know the elements, if somebody is sleeping around with people, what's going to happen if they didn't follow the pentagram? One person let's say one person just decided to spread love that was married into a tribe. Well, they knew that this was something that could absolutely kill the entire tribe. One person with their love actually killed the whole tribe. So that was why the pentagram was extremely important to follow it. And that's why we use that symbol for the law. And so 666 is basically the elements water for teasing, stone for working or ejection until the work is done, and air, which is the reward. And that is so that the fire is able to reach the wood without burning it, because we are born as fire until we are trained not to hurt ourselves or other people. Because if we just do what we want, our first step is capable of burning. It is capable of burning. And so the wiser, older people or whatever, these thousands of these traditions are here for a reason. Whenever people don't follow them, they find out the hard truth why they were supposed to. But a lot of the time they would be afraid another culture would, if they weren't following it, they would fear another culture would force them to. And so people were actually illegal in the way that they are today. People would do things that could burn themselves or other people, or hurt a family tree or whatever, right? And so that always had the concerns that another culture was going to arrive and say, this time we're going to force you to obey. We're going to force you to obey so that you don't burn each other, or you don't burn us. And one of the people you sell us doesn't kill everybody on accident, out of love. And so when you find the mark of the beast, 666 in the Bible, part of it comes from Jews helping the people of the heavens to scare the Romans or the outnumbered people or whatever. And they would tell them stories about how they were fighting ferocious dragons or whatever in the north, or the heavens, I guess is what they used to call it. And then they would actually be cutting down trees or something like that, right? But basically, there was a reason to call that the scariest thing. The beast is supposed to be really scary, and it was really important, because when the people would come from civilization and go find out what it was, the people that lived out away from civilization knew how to time themselves with their environment that was afraid of arrows with fire or whatever could be there. And it was very scary and capable of turning around people as if there was some ferocious creature, because they didn't really know what it was like to be outside compared to other people. And so that's what the beast from the sea actually is. And people used to have to come and turn people around. Usually there was a network within the people coming, knowing that this was happening, and assisting with this so that nobody would have to fight, nobody had to die. And, a lot of the time people would just older people might be trying to come up with ways to get rid of the younger people so that you could be closer to a girl or something. And they actually know this, or they go to sleep, so they're like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna go there and then be really scared of the beast and then turn around. That's just an example, right? So anyways, so 600, the first 6, if it's just simply a reward, if it's just air, if somebody's going to just grab something without paying for it, or if they're just going to grab a woman or grab a man and just do whatever they want, that'd be like burning it. So it's like, so it makes sense having 2 zeros there, because And so it's like it's stone, or it's water, or it's air. Because so that 6 would represent any one of those elements. And having 2 zeros behind that 6 makes sense, because if it is air, it means you're not getting it, because you need to know all of the rest of the elements. And the natives actually followed this. They had the same teachings, they had the same ways, and they had used fallen star fragments. They'd stroke against people or livestock or whatever until it pointed to the direction of the sky. And, you know, the very first compass or whatever is a fallen star fragment. And people from a very long time ago, when using a compass or whatever, they would, that points to the direction of the sky. So the natives, the earliest natives came from the moon when they came to America, because there's no further north to go. There was nothing but water, and so your people wouldn't be coming back if they tried to find the northmost point, and you'd be waiting with the wolves howling, "How do you come back? How?" And they'd be basically at the moon. So the Aztecs, having the sun, are the people that they know they're going to go try to find the sun. They're going to find the other side, right? So that's where, so that's part of where that is, right? And anyways, so what was I saying? Where was I going? Oh yeah, I was asking, maybe there's no hateful spirit or whatever, but I was gonna ask that question in the book. So I'm just going to answer that. What would you say about, the 600, somebody frustrated with that answer? Feed them. Feed them. Feed them. Wow. A ward off evil spell is actually part of that too. If the people were, if it's supposed to, ward off evil is supposed to be a non-violent way to say you have to go. There's not enough here. But I mean, and there would be like a gift basket where people came in, and people would use like the witch or whatever surround herself with salt, because they would grab salt and put it on the snow. And since people that lived in the north or farther up there, they were more likely to have that constant problem with a bunch of people going, "What's this? Where does this go?" And then and then they might go, "Oh, we're gonna run out of food or whatever if these people don't turn around." So that's kind of the origins of that spell or whatever. But feeding them is always wise, or they're going to come back. They're going to come back. But having the gift basket in the most unwelcome state as well as on one end of it, right? You still want to feed them. Because what are they going to do? So, when I was asking that question, I was doing that as a, you might come across this and assume this person's going to reject me, I'm not going to be welcomed, I'm too different, whatever, I just hate you, you're too different, or whatever, and that's going to be 1 sick, it's 0, know that you're 0 and you're sick. Like, that's not somewhere to get stuck. So, Legend of Huma. I'm very excited to be able to help someone when she actually has found her human, her largest echo or whatever. I'm not sure that I'd feel comfortable doing it until she's like either married the person or been having romantic dreams of the person. And with the person's face. So, sure, because a lot of the times we're tricked into thinking we did something with somebody without actually doing it. We didn't actually see the face. So, through cinders and blood, usually it's actually your spouse when you thought it was somebody else. But there is a lesson to learn in the dream or whatever. And that's actually what people find when they use enough addition. It's very magical. That was, when I'm talking about is dreaming, connecting to other people, and the reason I say you go to heaven when you die. Heaven being the north or whatever. They prove this magic with a compass. And before leaving their kids or something, if they weren't sure they were going to come back, show the magic of a compass. Say, if we're not coming back, we will be back, even if we don't come back when you go to sleep. And that's where we'll be. And so that's why they say we reunite in heaven when we die. Because this is something that people witness the proof of. And so, this Song of Huma, wouldn't that be cool to, I'm just going to do a Green Man Chronicles. I'm planning on doing this Green Man Chronicles, the Song of Huma. That's really cool. Through cinders and blood, the harvest of dragons, traveled Huma, cradled by dreams of the silver dragon. Okay, so in the silver dragon form, that would represent you have to be this way or it's not going to happen. The stag perpetual, now that represents waking up to who the people are and stuff like that. A signal before him, at last the eventual harbor, a temple so far to the east that it lay where the east was ending. Wait, at last the eventual harbor, a temple so far to the east that it lay where the east was ending. There Paladine appeared. Now Paladine has represented a lot of different things. But basically, when we pray, it's like it's like praying and connecting to everything, and it's coming from our dream. In a pool of stars and glory, announcing that of all choices, one most terrible had fallen to Huma. Okay, so let me reread this. So, do we know who the silver dragon is, Silvara? It's always going to be new people, right? Because I'm going to create this musical kind of thing for people to have fun with that. And people can have fun, like, I wanted to create like a musical thing where people discover something and use it as a part of a show to like give people the best experience and help them. The stag perpetual, a signal before him. So at last the eventual harbor, the temple so far to the east, blah, blah, blah. There Paladine appeared in a pool of stars and glory, announcing that of all choices, one most terrible had fallen to Huma. So Huma would be the largest echo chosen by this person. For Paladine knew that the heart is a nest of yearnings. For Paladine knew that the heart is a nest for yearnings. That kind of means we change. That we can travel forever toward the light, becoming what we can never be. Interesting. Interesting because I was just talking about the golden plates. So, in my mind right there, it was writing about maybe one of Lord Soth's horses and saying that it will transform into something else completely and be the most unexpected, perfect, whatever being of everybody should follow this. Wow, it's so much cleaner and wiser. That's kind of what I got when I read that. Footsteps in the sand. Okay, so here's the beginning of book 3. And now here's a flower here. Footsteps in the sand. The army of Philistines surged southward, reaching Kergoth. The army of Philistines surged southward, reaching Kergoth, just as the last of the leaves were blowing from the tree limbs, and the chill hand of winter was getting a firm grip upon the land. So how is it going to change this? How is it going to change the story when I'm using addition? I just was sharing about how I'm inspired about becoming a Mormon. I was never expecting. Reaching Kergoth. So that's taking deep stare direction. Deep stare direction. The letters A and E have meant deep stare, but it's like when you're looking at somebody's face, it could be a face. And because the letter A is caring, it's connecting other people, it's the right mind, artistic mind. The letter E is like logical, it's asking a question, it's praying, meditating. So A, E together to our subconscious mind kind of means it's a person looking at us. The person's looking at us. Is it a deep stare? And then the letter R is heading. And then, so C, and then deep stare heading Goth. The army of Philistines surged southward, reaching Kergoth. I don't know how to pronounce it though. Just as the last of the leaves were blowing from the tree limbs, and the chill hand of winter was getting a firm grip upon the land. The banks of New Sea brought the army to a halt. The banks of New Sea brought the army to a halt. Interesting. In this moment right here. People hopefully aren't being inspired to get money other people earned stored through what I'm doing. I mean, my inspiration was just being pointed at and noticed. I'll get paid for the work I've already done. I'm not going to be like taking advantage of people. So also with him were all the blacksmiths, woodwrights, and carpenters who had joined the army. Caramon made his command post in the city of Karagoth. He had heard of the famous port city all his life. Where is it located? Karagoth. I'm gonna look at the map here because here it is. So if this was America, we're gonna do like fun bed and breakfast, fantasy role-playing trips for people in the future, stuff like that. Where would Karagoth be? Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's kind of like what? Portland? No, I don't know. I guess I didn't really say there was a Portland anywhere, huh? I don't really know anything about Karagoth. Where would Portland be? That's an interesting question. Salantas? Somewhere like that. That's so weird. Very cool though. But it's interesting how how all the stuff I found. I just wanted to see where it was in the map. I guess I should show you. So, isn't that cool? So that's it right there. Garnet. So Nevada was Qualinesti. Wayrith was the Bay Area. But I mean, it's just weird how it will connect to that. And okay, so Karagoth Caramon made his command post in the city of Karagoth. He had heard of the famous port city all of his life, his former life. 300 years after the cataclysm would find it bustling. 300 years after the cataclysm would find it a bustling, thriving harbor town. But now, 100 years after the fiery mountain had struck Kryn, Karagoth was a town in confusion. But now, 100 years after the fiery mountain had struck Kryn, Karagoth was a town in confusion. Once a small farming community in the middle of the Solomnic Plain, Karagoth was still struggling with the sudden appearance of a sea at its doorstep. Okay, so it's probably in Oregon somewhere, Northern California. Looking down from his quarters, where the roads in town ended, suddenly, in a precarious drop down steep cliffs to the beaches below, Caramon thought incongruously of Tarsus. So Tarsus has been LA. The cataclysm, the ice wall, it's like the Mexican border. Once the small farming community in the middle of the tumult, looking down from his court. Oh wait, Kirkoth was still started appearance of the sea, the doorstep. Looking down from his quarters where the roads and town ended, suddenly in a precarious drop down steep cliffs to the beaches below. Caramon thought incongruously of Tarsus. The cataclysm had robbed that town of its sea, leaving its boats, stranded upon the sands like dying sea birds. While here in Kergoth, new sea lapped on what was once plowed ground. Caramon thought with longing of those stranded ships in Tarsus. So it's no longer, it's changed, it's dried up. Here in Kergoth, there were a few boats, but not nearly enough for his needs. He sent his men ranging up and down the coast for hundreds of miles, with orders to either purchase or commandeer seagoing vessels of any type, their crews with them, if possible. These they sailed to Kergoth, where the smiths and the craftsmen re-outfitted them to carry as great a load as possible for the short journey across the Straits of Chalcis to Aban as in, yeah. That word was for Utah, kind of. Or in the kind of meant Mormon territory. Or Utah in the Old West. Putting aside blood feuds to fight together for survival, he heard about the preparations of the hill dwarves, who were also forging weapons, using the same gully dwarf slave labor as their cousins, the mountain dwarves. And so the gully dwarves have represented hippies. They don't count more than two. And the other dwarves, hill dwarves, have represented kind of Jack Mormons, while the mountain dwarves have been more like the most loyal members. Isn't that interesting? So what's going to happen now that Rassilon suddenly is like, I'm going to be with those people, and they're like marching upon them? Like, but in the story, they're trying to change the timeline, probably because they don't want people to die or fight or anything. But they know that in history it said that the army of Phistodonolus is supposed to, come in and conquer this land. It makes a lot of sense. So he had even made discreet advances to the elves in Qualinesti. So that would be Vegas. And they're elves because they have so many bugs there. This gave Caramon an eerie feeling, for the man to whom he sent his message was none other than Solastarin. Was that? This gave Caramon an eerie feeling, for the man to whom he sent his message was none other than Solastarin. Oh, the Speaker of the Suns, who had just weeks ago died in Caramon's own time. Raistlin had sneered at hearing of this attempt to draw the elves into the war. knowing full well, makes sense, he doesn't want people to fight, knowing full well what their answer would be. The Archmage had, however, not been without a secret hope, nurtured in the dark hours of the night, that this time it might prove different. It didn't. Caramon's men never even had a chance to speak to Solostrin. Before they could dismount from their horses, arrows zinged through the air, thudded into the ground, forming a deadly ring around each of them, looking into the aspen woods. They could see literally hundreds of archers, each with an arrow nocked and ready. What? Are they doing a naked bike ride? Just kidding. No words were spoken. The messengers left, carrying an elven arrow to Caramon in answer. The war itself, in fact, was beginning to give Caramon an eerie feeling. Piecing together what he had heard Raceland and Chrysania discussing. It suddenly occurred to Caramon that everything he was doing had all been done before. So right now they're passing through, they're going, I guess they're in Nevada. They're gonna, well, they were upset at first and they were going to sue them. And then, what's gonna happen now? I can't remember the story that much. It's really interesting. The thought was almost a nightmarish, I'm just using addition and comparing it to everything that's happening. It's really fun to do. The thought was almost as nightmarish to him as to his brother, though for vastly different reasons, because it always has to do with what's going on. And it'll be like such a weird, how did that happen? I feel as though that iron ring I wore around my neck in Istar had been bolted back on. Oh, he feels like he's addicted again to video games. Caramon muttered to himself one night as he sat in the inn at Karagoth that he had taken over for his command post. I'm a slave again, same as I was then. Only this time it's worse, because even when I was a slave, at least I had freedom to choose whether I was going to draw breath or not on that day. I mean, if I wanted to die... Wait, what is that saying right there? If I wanted to die, I could have fallen on my sword and died. I mean, if I wanted to... so it's saying, it's my choice whether or not I get married, or whether or not I want to be single and die on ex-girlfriends. It's kind of a way to see that. If you look at what I made to just make it fun. Turn everything into something positive. And then, but now I'm not even given that choice, apparently. Interesting. It was a strange and horrifying concept for Caramon. One he dwelt on and mulled over many nights. One he knew he didn't understand. He would like to have talked it over with his brother, but Raceland was back at the inland camp with the army and even if they had been together, Caramon was certain his twin would have refused to discuss it. So he doesn't like feeling forced to, he doesn't like being forced into a path and not being able to make his own decisions. It's basically, and they're going to face the dwarves. Go, why, what's going on here? How come you haven't helped? What? We were gonna sue. I was gonna sue, but doubt it now. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I definitely need to somewhere, but the Mormon church, where I shared that I was gonna do it, I actually went back there. I saw the correctional facilities actually did change. They no longer do that to people. So I mean, what I was going to sue them for. And I was just like, a problem with what one member did is not like something, I probably shouldn't have shared that online. I should have just let them know, this person messed up. That was messed up to do to me. So, okay. So, running out of light here. I'm just gonna have to stop here because it's too dark. Even though there's like 2 paragraphs left. Come on. Read this. It's 2 paragraphs. Just have to get over to this side. Now I can see really well. Okay. Raceland. So, blah, 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 blah. Raceland during this time, had been gaining in strength almost daily. Following the use of his magical spells that consumed the dead village in the blazing funeral pyre, the Archmage had laid almost dead to the world for 2 days. Upon waking from his feverish sleep, he had announced that he was hungry. Within the next few days, he ate more solid food than he had ever been able to tolerate in months. The cough vanished, he rapidly regained strength and added flesh to his bones. But he was still tormented by nightmares that not even the strongest of sleeping potions could banish. Night and day, that's very true right now. Night and day, Raceland pondered his problem. And if only he could learn Phisidonalus's fatal mistake, he might be able to correct it. Interesting. Wild schemes came to mind. The Archmage even toyed his fatal mistake. I'm sorry, I was laughing because I was thinking. Wild schemes came to mind. The Archmage even toyed with the idea of traveling forward to his own time to research, but abandoned the idea almost immediately. If consuming a village in flame had plunged him into exhaustion for 2 days, the time travel spell would prove even more wearing. If consuming a village in If consuming a village in flame had plunged him into exhaustion for 2 days, the time travel spell would prove even more wearing. And though only a day or two might pass in the present while he recuperated, eons would flit by in the past. Finally, if he did make it back, he wouldn't have the strength needed to battle the Dark Queen. And then, just when he had almost given up in despair, the answer came to him. Okay. Wow. Crazy. And then, just when he had... So I thought right there, it was saying that Raceland was disturbed about Fisadonalis's fatal mistake. As if it was like, whether or not he should do this with Chrysania. Fisadonalis being my dad. Ouch. That's it. I am seriously hurting right now. Really grossed out. And just going, wow, was that my type at all? I wouldn't have done that. But I don't want to say that. I don't really know. I would have contacted me and said I would have left. Well, anyways, what I'm talking about is nonsense. I'm just wondering about, whether I should stay on the path to try to marry this person for this romantic experience. How stupid. She was telling me she was selfish, right? I was doing it too. She's like, she was so selfish for doing this too. So stupid. What a weird experience between something and somebody explained to me how she's hurting me while she's doing it. Crazy. It's kind of, I'm trying to describe an experience, and words don't really have a way to describe it. But, I was thinking about the collective of dreams and everything, and kind of Okay, ready? Hey, sorry my son was being punk to you. I'm sorry. Make sure he never does that again. Talking about my dad and me being in Utah. And who would that be saying, I'll make sure he never does it again?